Hello, everyone. Welcome to Casual Experts Only, where a bunch of nerds talk about nerdy stuff, pretty much. Today, I have my friend Ethan on. Haven't really like for us, you haven't been on for a while since the FNAF episode, but for like the uploads,
Yeah,
they were just like a few episodes ago. But yeah,
yeah,
great to have you back, man. How you doing?
not too bad. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Yeah,
We're getting by.
yeah, same.
Yeah,
Yeah, haven't uploaded for a little while. Been kind of busy, kind of like fell to the wayside. There's a lot of stuff, but yeah, we're back. And we're gonna be talking about Superman because some Superman, a lot of set photos came out this week.
yeah,
There was nothing for a while, and all of a sudden, like they started filming in downtown Cleveland, and it just like they're everywhere. I wonder if I don't know. I wonder if it was maybe like on purpose, like they were like kind of because I feel like I don't know if they really wanted to completely lock it down, they could have, but
yeah, 100%.
so I kind of feel like maybe like yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell for sure, but yeah. So we're gonna be talking about that. We're gonna be talking about just kind of like Superman in general and kind of like our like experience with Superman and everything, and kind of like how that's like formed our view and vision of Superman, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but first, there's like a couple bits of news I wanted to tackle real quick. It's like not gonna be very long, but first of all, the teaser for the Penguin show came out, I think this
yeah,
week, and that's
yeah,
confirmed to be coming out this September, which is awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. I really love Colin Farrell's Penguin in the Batman, and yeah, this the show looks really cool. It looks kind of like like a mob movie, but it still like feels like it's part of the
yeah,
Batman universe. So I'm really
yeah.
excited for that. It looks really good.
It's very Tony Soprano
Yeah,
inspired. You can tell. You can
very.
tell how inspired it is.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I kind of wonder if it's gonna like I kind of wonder if it's gonna be mature. Honestly, like from the tone. I mean, the Batman was PG-13, so who knows? But it is like a Max original, so yeah, I'm kind of curious to
Yeah,
see what they do with
you
it.
could go either way,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, for sure. What I'm excited about too is it looks, mean, from what I've heard, it seems like Batman is going to show up at least a little bit. Like, I don't want it to be like a Batman centric show because it doesn't not what it's supposed to be. But, at the same time, it would be cool to see Robert Pattinson's Batman again, especially since the Batman got delayed again.
Just to see a little bit more of him before the film.
Right, exactly, because it feels like it's gonna be forever now. Because like, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not really sure. Like,
yeah,
they're being kind of hush hush about the production. Like, it seemed like the script wasn't finished, but then it took them a while to actually delay it for some reason. Like, it's like they were planning on filming at the beginning of this year, and then when that date rolled around, they're like, oh well, we're actually delaying it. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm assuming it was affected by the strike, but I feel like they haven't like been updating it very much, which is unfortunate.
yeah. Yeah, it was supposed to come out the same year as Superman, wasn't it? And it was like a whole thing
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we were getting a Superman in the same year.
Yeah.
And obviously, it didn't last long because why would it?
No,
Uh,
and then it got delayed to 2026 and now we're like yeah, we're not sure. So, I mean, like I want it to come out as soon as possible, but at the same time, I want them to do a good job with it and take
yeah,
the time they need to make it really good. But yeah, so there's the Penguin show. The other thing I wanted to talk about was some I don't know. This has been kind of circulating. It's not like anything major, but Kevin Feige kind of confirmed some details about the Fantastic Four movie. Um, he was on the newly launched official Marvel podcast. I think it's the first episode of the podcast, and he was on it briefly, and he basically like confirmed that Fantastic Four is going to be set in the '60s. It is a period piece.
yeah,
And he also kind of alluded that it might be in an alternate universe.
So, one thing that the MCU has done consistently that I really, really love is that they play with genre, whether it is throwing our favorite stories through the lens of a political thriller or a horror or even a sitcom. And we're seeing it again. The Fantastic Forecast announcement artwork, for example, was very 1960s influenced, suggesting that we might get a period film.
Yes, yes, very much so. It is a period, and there was another piece of art we released with Johnny Storm flying in the air and making a four symbol, and there was a cityscape in the corner of that image, and there were a lot of smart people who noticed that cityscape didn't look exactly like the New York that we know or the New York that existed in the 60s in our world. And those are smart observations, I'll say.
He's finally said it. He's confirmed it.
Yeah, right. Like it's definitely set in the 60s, which we kind of, you know, everyone kind of assumed given like the, the artwork and all that stuff. But he was also kind of alluding that it's not our universe, which I feel like
Yeah.
that's been rumored a lot, and it kind of makes sense. I feel like because if they, the only way to do Fantastic Four in the MCU, the main universe, is to do like an origin film, because it wouldn't really make
Yeah.
sense for them to be around and nobody's ever mentioned them or heard of them or anything. And
Yeah.
Doctor Strange had not heard of them at all in Multiverse of Madness, when he met Reed Richards. So,
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense that they're going to do like an alternate universe thing, and somehow they get brought into the main universe, I guess.
Something to do with Galactus. Gotta be. It's gotta be
Yeah.
like always that universe, and they
Yeah.
end up in the MCU. Well, I don't how they're going to do that. I have no idea, but it's
Yeah.
got to be something like.
Yeah, which I mean, it could be that is an interesting take on the Fantastic Four, and I do kind of like that it's a period film. Like it's set in the 60s when the Fantastic Four did first get created and published. That'll be an interesting take that we haven't seen on screen before.
I do like the idea of having, because quite a lot of movies now are having different, like especially with Superman, from what we've seen, set photos and whatnot. They're not setting it in modern day. Like with, for example, the Nolan Batman movies were just in New York.
Yeah.
It's not its own world, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. It's sort of, it could be a real thing, whereas like having it in like a retro futuristic style 60s city makes it its own thing. It will make the film look good.
Yeah.
Like cinematic wise, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you did this whole film and if it's all like set how it is, but it's in modern day New York, I don't think it would look as good. Like, just spectacle-wise, look as good as it would set in the 60s.
Sure. Yeah.
And same thing with like what I was gonna bring up later with when we talk about Superman is having the Metropolis as its own thing, as a Metropolis we've seen before, like the animation. It's
right.
I like how we're sort of leaning more into that sort of mystical side of cities. So like the Batman has its own miserable Gotham City, and even though it is, well, it's still beautiful to look at because we've never seen anything like it, really.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely like a place, for more grounded, like putting them in more realistic, worlds, I guess.
Yeah.
But I definitely prefer when they give, the world like a personality and make it feel unique. Like you said, like the Superman animated series, because in the comics, the like Metropolis was called, the city of tomorrow. It was supposed to be kind of futuristic in a lot of ways, and I feel like they captured that in the animated series. So I hope they do that in the new movie. And like you said, in the Batman, it really felt like a Gotham. I mean, I feel like the Tim Burton movies too. Gotham really had like its own feel. It didn't just feel like Chicago or New York or something, Yeah. So that was good.
I really like that aesthetic of like the 60s futuristic. I don't know. It's just I always really like that aesthetic of like cities. Looking futuristic. Like, I know it's a really random thing, but Nuketown in Black Ops 2 had a 60s feel, where it was futuristic in a way. And I've just always liked that sort of aesthetic, especially for like Metropolis and for the Fantastic Four. I feel like it just fits really well.
Yeah, I think it does too, and it'll be interesting to see like how they not only how they like go to a different universe, but how they go to a different time period as well, like going from the 60s to now. That'll be interesting to see and kind of see the adjustment there, like what the characters have to deal with and everything. And I'm kind of curious, like how much of the movie is going to be like if it's going to be like the whole movie and then like at the end they go to the main MCU universe, kind of like in Captain America, the first Avenger, like the whole movie was in the 40s and then, it ended with him in modern day. So I'm guessing they're going to do that, but, I guess we'll see. But I am very interested. It definitely seems like a different take on Fantastic Four, but I'm definitely all for it. It's been a long time since we've had a Fantastic Four movie, and we've had two versions, and like I like the original to a certain extent, but I feel like we haven't really gotten like a really 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 good Fantastic Four adaptation in the movies. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, but last little bit of news is the new Street Fighter movie that is being produced by Sony and Legendary is going to be releasing in theaters on March 20th, 2026, so it has an actual release date. I kind of forgot that this was announced a while ago, but it was, and the directors Danny and Michael Phillip, who were attached to it, they directed Talk to Me, and they're famous for that Raka Raka YouTube channel that they used to have.
Yeah.
But apparently they dropped out somewhat recently, but they still released an official release date with no director attached. But that should be interesting. I used to play Street Fighter like on my Game Boy when I was younger, so like Street Fighter 2 and stuff, and like the other movies are really, kind of lame. So I hope that, yeah, nice. So I really hope that they make a cool, like good Street Fighter movie that could be cool. But now it's like, what, I guess that's a little less than 2 years away. So
Yeah. I completely forgot about that, to be fair, and I've only just heard about the release date.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I forgot about it until the other day when they announced the release date. I was like, oh yeah, that's coming out, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I haven't played a Street Fighter game since Street Fighter 2, I think.
I haven't played Street Fighter. I know it's pretty recent, Street Fighter 5. That one, literally there, I've had that since it came out.
Yeah.
That's why.
I think they're on 6. I think that's the most recent one, 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they had loads of DLC. I only played it when it first released, so I haven't played any of the DLC or anything.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's all the news I wanted to talk about. So let's get into Superman. All right, so to kind of start things off, like, what was, I guess, your introduction to Superman? When, I mean, I'm assuming you were pretty young.
Yeah. So I've always been more of a Batman guy myself.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since I was like 4, if that. I've always been a Batman guy. I don't know why. It's like I was just always more into Batman, even before I understood it. And my uncle's always been a Superman guy. So when Batman vs Superman came out, we used to have like not arguments, just like who's gonna win and like that whole thing. So a lot of my younger DC, like not DC but Superman knowledge, came from him.
Oh, okay.
Sort of his love for the character, because he's been how I am with Batman. He was like that with Superman for like the last 4 years or whatever it's been.
Mm-hmm.
So he's always loved Superman, and so I started off with obviously toys. Like I started off with toys and then got into the comics, the movies as well. The movies I've watched since I was stupidly young. I've always loved Christopher Reeves. For me, at the minute, because we haven't seen this current one, Christopher Reeve is Superman in my eyes.
Yeah.
Like when I imagine Superman, I just imagine him. Just because of those movies when I was so young, and it's one of the scenes that always stuck out to me was the one where he's fighting the evil Superman in, I think it's in Superman 3, where he's in the scrapyard.
Yeah.
I watched that on YouTube when I was younger. It was someone uploaded the clip, and I used to rewatch that clip so many times.
Yeah.
But yeah, it went from that to sort of playing Injustice and getting more into like the deeper comics and stuff like that. So I've been more into Batman, but I am still like I love Superman as well. I love what he stands for, what he represents, and everything like that. So yeah, I do. I love Superman. He's probably, in my eyes, he is the best superhero there is, just as a whole, like universally for people.
Yeah.
Whereas Batman is my favorite, so I have, for everything, for movies, TV shows, I have my favorites and what I think is the best.
Sure.
I think Superman is one of the best superheroes.
Yeah, for sure.
But Batman is still my favorite, if that makes sense. So like, yeah, I always keep up to date with everything in Superman. You know, when the DCU was happening, I was always sort of excited for Cavill's return, even though I'm not like the biggest DCU guy.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite pieces of music is it's called Superman Rises Part 2. It's from the
Snyder Cut. It's so good.
Yeah, it's like a heroic version of the Man of Steel theme. It's so good, but I've always loved superheroes, and Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man were my main sort of things, and then I've like branched out to other stuff, but it all starts with those three when I was younger.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been following everything pretty much my whole life for these characters. So
yeah.
What about you?
I mean, for me, like you said, you've always been more of a Batman guy. For me, it's kind of like gone back and forth between Batman and Superman. I think for a long time it was Superman. I think when Batman v Superman came out, I was definitely like Team Superman. You know, I think Batman grew on me a lot more once I started like playing the Arkham games and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, Spider-Man was my first hero, and then Superman was like the second one I got into. And unlike a lot of people, Christopher Reeve's movies weren't like my first introduction. I don't think I actually watched them till I was like 12 or 13 or something. But so my first introduction to Superman was actually the 90s Timverse series. That was like, I had this DVD of like the first, 3 episodes, which was like, the pilot. And I like rewatched that like a ridiculous amount. And then I saw some other episodes on TV and stuff, but I also actually got into the old Fleischer series as well around the same time. So I watched a lot of those, and I think a little bit after that, I was still pretty young, probably too young to read this, but I think my first Superman comic was Death of Superman. And I read that like a lot. Well, I think like the first time I just looked at the pictures, and then like later on I went back and actually like read it.
You like there's words here.
Yeah, right. Like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's actually like words in those bubbles. Yeah, so that was kind of like my first introduction, like my formative like Superman years was like the old cartoon series, like the 90s and the Fleischer one, and then like the Death of Superman comic. And then obviously as I got older, I read some more comics. I watched the Reeves movies, and like I don't think the Reeves movies are as special to me as like other, for other people. Because they were like, like my fourth version of Superman. So I was like, like these are, I know these are iconic and they're great. Reeves was great and they're like great for the 70s, but I was never like as into them as other people, I guess.
I feel like it's you have to start with that. So like,
kinda,
because you watched them. I think when they came out, or no, not when they came out, but like when he was younger, they were pretty recent. They were only like maybe 10 years old for the first one.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's so into that version of Superman. So that Superman 2 is probably his favorite film of all time, just because when he was younger, he watched those.
Yeah, I always really liked the first two a lot. I think I did always like the second one more because there was like more action.
Same.
But so those movies, were and those were kind of like the only Superman action movies besides Superman Returns. I do remember actually Superman Returns came out around the same time as I was first getting into like the Superman series and stuff, but I didn't watch it then because it was like I was like 5 or 6 or 7. Like I was pretty young. Yeah, 2000. I think it came out in 2006 or 7. So I was like, probably like 7.
So I was born.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen any of the other ones yet, and my dad was like, "You're not gonna understand this movie." Plus, it's like kind of like not really a kids movie at all. Like there's not really much like action or anything. It's very like mostly dialogue driven. So I feel like as a kid I would have been really bored with it. But I do remember like all of the toys that came with it. So that was a big thing too. Like I had I had an action figure from Superman Returns. I had like this kryptonite like slime sludge thing that came in like a little like plastic kryptonite like case thing. So there's that's all that. I think for me a big thing with Superman is there are like two main aspects to him. I think there's like the really down to earth friendly helpful like version of him, like that side to him. But I also think that there's like a really just like badass powerful warrior side to him as well. And I'd really like ideally my ideal Superman has both of those. So like what I did like about like this, the Zack Snyder version is it did capture like the powerful badass version, like his side to him that we hadn't really seen in the movies before, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that they did a good job in Superman and Lois as well, like doing both sides. I think the newer CW show. But yeah, and I feel like in the comics, like Dan Jurgens and like Philip Kennedy Johnson especially do a good job having just really highlighting both sides of that of Superman. And I really hope James Gunn's new Superman does that as well, because I feel like both sides, both aspects of Superman are very important. I feel like if you just do the powerful warrior side, it's cool, but it does miss a bit of like what makes Superman so special. And I feel like if you just do like the light stuff, like, oh, I'm smiling and saving cats from trees, it's kind of like hollow, because it kind of misses like a huge like aspect of Superman. He's not just like, oh, friendly neighborhood and a nice guy. He's also like a protector and a guardian, and like just an immensely powerful character. So I really have high hopes that this new Superman movie is gonna have both. Like, I feel like that if James Gunn pulls that off, that's gonna be the perfect cinematic version of Superman, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Snyder really leaned into that godly side of him. Like, he seemed like a god sent from like above.
Yeah.
Which is like, the whole thing is with Lex is that he's jealous of him, basically. And
Right.
from what I know, that is, he doesn't see why he should have the power and no one else should. Why we should trust him. And it's I think that's one thing that makes Superman so interesting, is that he is probably the most powerful being on that in the world, and yet he's still flawed because he's grew up as a human, like not understanding his power into these like sort of 17, 18.
Right.
So he's. I think that's what I'd like to see, is seeing more sort of not flawed specifically, but more human.
Yeah.
So making more understanding to characters, empathetic towards them.
Yeah.
Rather than, I think Snyder's version was just. It wasn't as bad as I see. Like, I know when I talk about it, I seem like I really didn't like it. I did. I enjoyed it. It was good for the time, but now looking back on it, there are things where I wish he'd done differently. So I wish he did once the human side, because you get like the odd scene with where he's at the house with his mom, and where he's with Lois. That's sort of where it limits.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see more of that for sure.
Yeah, like I'm sure we would have got more of it eventually when Snyder realized that he should probably do a little bit more. But I think from what we did see him as sort of I don't know how to explain it, because it sounds stupid, because he is so powerful as a hero. Like, if you took comic book Superman and put him into the movie, there wouldn't be a movie, because
I know he's so
OP, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would definitely like to see more of a human side to him, because he has like up on a farm as a human, not understanding his power.
Right.
And then when he discovers it, he sort of realizes that he has a choice where he can use this power for good or bad, which is where Brightburn obviously went for the bad side and Superman for the good.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I'd definitely like to see more of a human side as well. Where he embraces his Kryptonian heritage, but also stands for humanity in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I want to see too. And I think I want to see a lot more like Daily Planet stuff. Like, I feel like there was a little bit in like Batman v Superman, and obviously we've seen some stuff in more recent years, like in Superman Returns. But I'd really like to see more. Like, I mean, for me, like, a big thing I pull from when I think of Superman is the 90s animated series. And there was like a lot of it took place in the Daily Planet, and like they were always going on assignments and stuff, Lois, Jimmy, and Clark. So I would like to see more of that. And I know James Gunn said that like this movie is going to focus a lot on Clark Kent, so I do hope that we do see a lot more Daily Planet stuff. And he's already like he's cast like everybody in the Daily Planet. So I do have high hopes that we are going to see more of that, like Daily Planet centric stuff in the new movie.
Yeah, I think it's like with the Batman, for example. So he is Batman for a lot of that movie.
Yeah.
You don't really see too much of Bruce Wayne, which is fine, because you can tell that he's going to do a lot. He's going to explore Bruce Wayne with what he's done with that film. You can tell he's going to explore that avenue.
Yeah.
And then eventually they're going to come together as half and half.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing with Spider-Man, I think, where they focus. I feel like sometimes they don't focus enough on Peter as a character. They focus too much on Spider-Man. I think that's where they need to do it also with Superman. They need to sort of focus more on Clark and see, because he, as a human side of Clark, same with Spider-Man. He's got his own issues. He's got his own flaws. He's got his parents, and he's got his father and stuff like that to focus on. And I think it helps the character become more relatable when you realize that here's Superman, one of the most powerful beings in the world, but he's still got the same issues that I might have one day. With parents, passing away or anything like that. It helps you relate more to the character in a way, even though it's this 6'4" dude that's dressed in blue spandex with red on it.
Right.
And he can fly and hold a bus and stop a train, but he's still got the same issues that I have. And I think that's what makes it so interesting. And I think, like I said, I think I want them to explore more of Clark, like you said.
Yeah, and I think that's a big distinction between Batman and Superman is Batman is like that pretty much is, in a lot of ways Bruce Wayne is more his disguise than Batman. Like he's more himself when he's Batman. I think when it comes to Superman, Clark Kent is more like his actual self. And Superman's like, him being a little more free, but it is like more of a symbol. I think like Clark Kent is who he is. So I feel like focusing a lot more on Clark in a Superman movie makes a lot of sense, and I hope they do that.
Yeah, with Cavill, he had I think his hair was parted a little bit more to the right.
A little bit, but yeah, it was pretty much just him with the glasses, which I feel like most versions are just kind of like, let's slap glasses on him and put him in a suit, and which I think has been a big issue with Superman for forever, like ever since the old comics. I think that's a very, it's become a very classic part of him, but it is kind of outdated because it doesn't make any sense,
Yeah, like the argument that people have is if you're not expected to see Superman, you won't see Superman. No one's looking at the saying that's Superman, but if you did, you would see it, which I do get.
Yeah.
I think it works better if it makes sense for him to do his hair differently. And if you look at that set photo, he's wearing a suit that's huge on him to make himself look super.
Yeah.
It's like the did you see the All-Star drawing where it's like his posture is completely different?
Yeah.
Very inspired by that.
Yeah. I hope they don't, which I feel like this is kind of a trap that some writers and movie or show creators fall into, is I feel like they make Clark a little bit too dopey or dorky. He's supposed to be more mild-mannered. He's supposed to be more timid than Superman, obviously, to kind of have his disguise, but I feel like sometimes they make him seem just like stupid, and it's like to a point where, because Clark Kent's supposed to be like, he's a cool character in and of himself, and if you make him just like too stupid, he just feels like a lame like disguise for Superman instead of who he really is. And also it just kind of isn't very like believable that he's such a good reporter when he acts like an idiot all the time. So I hope they don't do that with this version, which I don't think they will, because it seems like they're going to focus a lot on Clark, and it wouldn't really work if Clark's just like a bumbling moron the whole entire time, and it's like, so.
Yeah, Christopher Reeve said that surely by like the second or third film, you're getting bored of just seeing him running to doors. You should know where the doors are by now instead of.
Yeah.
I think it works if it's like the start of the film or like maybe the first film. I can get behind it, but I don't want to see too much of that. I want to.
Yeah.
Like Chris Reeve, he should know where the doors are by the second or third film.
Right. Yeah, I do like his, I think he's probably done the best at having a distinction between Clark and Superman. It got a little bit hammy sometimes, but the way he changes his posture and everything when he's Clark as opposed to Superman is really good and really well done. So I do hope they kind of emulate that in this new movie. But let's talk about the actual set photos here. There's a ton of them over the last few days. But I mean, first of all, they give us our first really good full body look at the Superman suit. I mean, there was a lot of discourse when the original photo came out, and I still don't love it. I still don't love that look at it. It was definitely a choice.
But it wasn't the best photo to use.
No, it made everything look darker. The suit was dirty. It was an odd posture. It made the suit look even more loose than it is. This looks really, really good. I really like, the symbol, obviously. And the thing with set photos too is they look with the lighting, with how far away they are. They don't really do the textures of the suits justice usually. So in some of these photos, I don't love the way the text, the suit material looks. But then in other photos, you get a better look, and the texture looks a lot better. Like it's a lot more like a lot more detail, and doesn't look like like pajama material. And I like having that up close look of the symbol that James Gunn first released. Like the texture on the Superman shield looks really cool. And seeing like I saw an up close look at the boots, and they look a lot better, because I think in the original photo they look almost like rubber or styrofoam or something. But like getting a closer look, they look like they're more like leather, or like a leather equivalent, which is cool. Which I still don't love the boots. I would have preferred like a more classic looking like Superman boot, I guess, like more like at the top, where it's kind of got like that V like cut thing. Like I think Henry Cavill's boots were like perfect, because they did look like that. They had like that V cut in them, and just kind of like the classic Superman boot look. I do kind of wish they'd done that with this suit, but I'm like, like it's not like a huge deal. But I really like the S. I like the yellow border around it. I really like the lines. The lines of like I never disliked the lines, but I think the lines look even better than they did in the first look.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially the shoulder ones, because they kind of give more form to the shoulders, I guess, which is cool. And I think just overall they provide like some texture to the suit, which I like, make it more interesting than just like, a plain like suit, I guess.
I feel like it works better because they're the same color. Like, if they were black lines, it'd look really. I wouldn't like it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's the same shade of blue, it adds depth. I think
it does.
Without the lines, this suit would look weird.
It would look too basic, and like they were just trying to copy Christopher Reeve's suit or something.
Yeah, especially those ones that go down here. Imagine this is the ones that come down here, and then that it gives his like body shape. Whereas if not, his body just looks like that. It wouldn't look right. 100%. I think it gives it. It adds depth to the suit, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know a lot of people are complaining about the collar. I don't mind the collar. I feel like it's a new. I think it looks really good on the suit. It fits the suit really well, and I feel like it's a. I don't like we've never really had a Superman with a collar in live action, so like I'm totally cool with it, and it looks good, and I'm not, I feel like it's very, very easy to make the trunks look stupid. So I'm always a little wary with the trunks, but I think they look really good on this suit. They don't look they look like part of the suit. They don't look like he just threw on a pair of underwear or something. Like like so. I think in some other version, like I think it looks good. I think they look good.
But the suits, they either look right with trunks or they don't. Yeah, if this new suit didn't have trunks, I wouldn't really like it. And it's not because of the trunks, it's because it wouldn't look right.
Right. The suit was made to have trunks, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like the only time I've really hated trunks is probably Superman Returns, and that's only because they look like a Speedo.
Like, Speedo.
if the trunks were longer, it would have worked. But I feel like
they're like that. They're like a really small sort of.
They look like actual underwear, and it's what? Yeah.
But I am a defender of that suit. I do really like that suit. I think if the emblem was bigger and it had better trunks, it would be near enough perfect. I love that blue. That blue is
I like really the blue. Nice. I don't love the maroon, I guess. I feel like if they did like a brighter red, it'd be really good.
Yeah, I've seen edits of that because I love the material. It's just like a regular spandex, but it has like the rubbery.
Yeah.
Super. I think people edit the Christopher Reeve, like the classic Superman S.
Yeah.
Bigger, because that emblem was really small.
I definitely prefer bigger when it comes to this Superman emblem. Like I kind of want it to take up like almost the whole chest,
Yeah, this is pretty similar to what it's like on the suit. Fair, say this was made before we even knew what this was made when that first logo dropped.
Yeah,
I think it looks fine. It doesn't look too small like Ralph's did, but I think it could definitely be bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm open to seeing it bigger, and I'm not too bothered. It's not a huge issue for me.
No, I think in some angles the belt looks really good. In some angles it looks a little weird, but I think overall I like the belt.
Yeah. The only thing with the belt for me, I think, is it's not a huge. It's really a nitpick, but the belt loop on the underwear are like too big for the belt in a way.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it like they look. It's not, like I said, it's not a huge thing. I'm sure there's a reason for it because they wouldn't have just done it. But
yeah,
it looks like between like the belt and the loop, there's about that much space, and it's not a huge thing, but it just makes it look like it's.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like with the belt too, in some angles it looks really good, in some angles it looks like it's made of plastic or something. So
yeah, it looks like rubber. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure it'll look better in the actual movie, but I think for me the biggest thing I'm most excited for is the yellow S symbol on the cape. We haven't had that since Christopher Reeves. I feel like that's like a really cool aspect of Superman's suit in the comics, and seeing it in the set photos, seeing some closer up images, it's got nice texture to it. It's not just like a print of the Superman S. It's got like it's got like an actual raised section to it, so it looks like it's actually got some 3D texture to it, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, it's like the same material as the chest one has been put on the cape, it looks like.
Yeah, which I think is very cool. Really the only major beef I have with this suit is that it looks kind of loose, and we did talk about this privately, but like I do much prefer
that sort of thing there. That's the only thing I think. It's not a huge issue for me. Like I can see through it. I can see past it because of the entire suit. It's more of I would prefer it to be tighter fitted, but
I mean, I much prefer like the fitted, suit like style that like we got with like Cavill's and Tyler Hoechlin's suit and Superman and Lois. Like it's got like a skin tight look, but they have like a padded layer underneath, so it has the muscle definition of the comics. And I think like I really like that. I kind of wish they got a little more of that style with this suit, but I think that they're going to like slim it up and make it look more like that in post. like you said in our private messages, like they probably made it loose to make it easier to move in, and then they're gonna fix it in post, which they do a lot. I don't think they do it as much like with the whole suit as they're going to have to do, but they've done it with like Spider-Man's suit and the Tom Holland movies. They did it with in more recent memory the like Falcon Captain America suit and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So they do it a lot, and it's not usually noticeable. So
that behind the set photo, Panther's suit was awful. It was like a vest over a sleeve. So he could do that, and then obviously it just looks like a whole thing when it's done in post. So it's something that is fixable, and I'm sure there is a reason they've done it, because they wouldn't have. They know that people like a slim fitted Superman suit,
right?
And they like to see them. There's a reason they've done it. It's just from what we're seeing, it does looks
a bit baggy. Yeah,
it just looks a little bit. It's not huge either. It's just it's just a bit like, especially around here, I think.
Yeah,
like it's like sort of like this t-shirt. It could do with a little bit of a pull.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like at the end of the day too, it's like these are set photos. It's going to look way better in the movie. Like I remember when the Shazam set photos came out. Like, people were like, "Oh, it looks stupid. There's padding," and then in the movie, it looks really good. So I think it just like they change a lot with the lighting, color grading, some touch ups with special effects and CGI. So I think at the end of the day, this suit's going to look awesome in the movie.
Like you said as well, I want to say the collar. I never imagined that we'd get a collar in live action. When I was thinking about what this suit would look like, never in my mind did the collar cross my mind. But I saw it and I was like, you know what, it works.
Yeah, it does.
It really works with this suit.
Yeah, it does.
And I've seen edits of people removing the collar and flattening out. But it looks good.
Yeah.
But also it still looks great. It doesn't look bad. And I would never, like I said, I've never thought about having a collar on a live action suit, especially not this one, because he said it was going to be a very classic looking suit.
Yeah.
It does work, and that's something that I do like, that they put the collar on it.
Yeah.
It makes. We were saying actually yesterday that this suit looks very like government issued in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It looks very sort of military, sort of.
Yeah.
Here is this suit.
Yeah.
Which I do. I do like it. I like the idea of that. I think it's definitely more realistic for the government to say, "Here's a suit, wear this."
Yeah.
Or
For me, I definitely prefer like when he gets his suit, like it's Kryptonian material.
yeah,
I feel like that makes the most sense because he's indestructible. He should have an indestructible suit.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I am curious where he gets his suit in the movie, or if they're going to address it. You know, whether it's like homemade, got it from the government, if it's from made from Kryptonian material or what. Like, so something that I thought was really cool in the New 52 books was his suit is Kryptonian, but it's basically like adapts to his genetics. So like it's just like a white material, and then he puts it on, and like it becomes the colors and puts on the crest. Like I doubt they're going to do that, but I did think that was kind of a cool concept. Um,
yeah.
but
I like. I
yeah.
think this. If this suit was, I like the. I don't know if I told you about this, but there was a theory that I had that this is the suit that he gets sent down to Earth with.
Mm,
And then later on in the movie, like maybe this one gets battle damaged, like we see in that leaked
yeah.
photo. And then his mum says, "Right, let me make you this one," and it's got the
Yeah.
classic S,
Yeah.
the neck gone, and I think that's
I wouldn't be
something that
surprised.
I'd love that. I think I
Mm,
love the idea of this one getting damaged and him getting pretty much the same thing, but classic Superman. I
yeah.
like, and it's made by his mum, so it's more comic-y, and it's.
Yeah.
I think that storyline, even though it's like a really small storyline thing of
Mm-hmm.
like the journey of the suit,
Yeah.
but I think that works really well, especially for this sort of like this version of Superman. I think it worked really well, even if he keeps the same design of the belt and the trunks and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just more Christopher Reeve style. I think is what I'm.
Kind of like that fan art that's been going around with David Corenswet's Superman. I feel like that would look perfect where it's got the classic S. It's more of like a fitted, muscular looking suit. It's got the classic boots. That would be
Yeah,
super cool to see. And I do agree. I think by the end of this movie, he is going to get a new suit. I've definitely been like kind of getting that feeling, and I feel like that would make sense. Um,
yeah,
Honestly, I think it would be cool as if this version of Superman kind of goes through different suits. I feel like and not necessarily just for the sake of a new suit. Like I feel like the MCU does that. Like every movie, they're like, you gotta have a new suit for some
yeah,
reason. But I feel like it would be cool if he had different suits that have purposes, like he does in the comics. Um,
yeah,
that would be very cool to see. And that is something I'm really excited about this version of Superman. It definitely seems like they're going to be doing a lot of cool comic stuff. Like the
yeah,
Fortress of Solitude. All the cool alien stuff with Superman.
yeah, yeah,
Like he's basically got his own version of the Batcave. In the Fortress of Solitude, he's got like a
yeah,
whole like alien zoo. They're gonna have crypto. I'm really excited to see all the comic-y stuff in it. And I think James Gunn's really good at bringing in a lot of comic-y stuff and not making it too cheesy, you know. So
yeah,
I'm very much looking forward to that, and I do think like it's great that James Gunn is in charge of the creative stuff with the new DC because he is obviously a huge comic fan. He knows the comics. He knows what he's doing. So I do have very high hopes for this Superman and just the whole DCU in general.
yeah,
But yeah, like this suit's awesome. I said this to you, but it's kind of a perfect amalgamation of classic and new, and I think
yeah.
it looks really cool. And I think that's what James Gunn was going for. I think he said that he was looking to bring in elements from like all eras of Superman, basically.
I think his words were everything we've seen before, but
Yeah.
with with his own spin on it.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, it looks to me, it looks like if Christopher Reeve was cast as Superman today,
Mm-hmm.
and that was made today with obviously the modern
Yeah.
look of suit. I think
Right.
if Christopher Reeve had a suit right now, it would
It'd
pretty
probably be.
much be.
Yeah. I think for me, and this is like a major nitpick here. I think I would have preferred maybe like a shade darker blue, like more of a royal blue, like your shirt. as opposed to it looks kind of like a sky blue.
It looks different in each picture. Like, for example, there's the one of him where he's just stood there, and then there's also like this one.
Yeah,
it looks a lot darker, and I think that is also the lighting, because you
I
can
think
see
so
on
too.
where the sun's coming through the tree, it's like a lot lighter in parts, which again, it's a beautiful color. I think this.
Oh yeah,
this
for
blue
sure.
Yeah, and the red pops
The
really.
red really pops. Yeah, it's great. I think.
I-
I mean, I'm just excited to see it in action or see like official promo images and see like the trailer, see it, and like I'm just looking forward to see how it looks in the movie. That's going to be awesome. There were a lot of other things revealed in the set photos. We got our first look at Mr. Terrific,
Yeah,
which he looks awesome. You know, he looks about what I expected, but he looks like a perfect version of Mr. Terrific from the
it looks like
comics. Yeah, like the suit is perfect. It's got fair play, wording on it. He's got the T mask. I really look forward to seeing like the T spheres and what they do with Mr.
yeah,
Terrific. Like he was all right actually in like the CW. It took them a while, but they did an all right job with him in the CW. But I definitely look forward to seeing him on the big screen. He's definitely an underrated character. But then we also get a look at the Daily Planet crew. We get a look at Lois Lane, who's in purple, the classic purple look for Lois. We also get a look at Perry White, Cat Grant, Jimmy, like all of the Daily Planet crew, and it looks like they're coming out of some. It's hard to tell if it's like a pod or like a vault, or if it's like a vehicle. It's kind of.
yeah.
I'm very curious what that scene is going to be, and like the military's involved as well.
So I've heard that it's that video, of Clark running through the crowd of people
Mm-hmm.
is prior to the scene that they filmed on day one.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he's still Clark, but he's around people in the Daily Planet.
Yeah.
And because he got switched into Superman while this whole attack is happening, whatever the attack is, because we still don't know really who the villain is. We know it's the main villain has been said to be Lex, but we don't know, what his plan is, what he's doing, what other villains he might create, whether it's going to be Bizarro or Ultraman or whatever.
Yeah.
So the Daily Planet gets attacked, and I've heard that apparently it's Mr. Terrific's ship that he comes, because obviously Clark can't, so he comes and saves them,
Daily
and then
Planet people. Okay.
and that's why they're coming out of the T ship.
That makes sense. That's cool.
Yeah. And then obviously you can switch into Superman, but it's when the whole thing's done.
Yeah.
So that's obviously what they were filming with him on day one.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's something too. We touched on it briefly, but Clark's hairstyle, like in the new set photo, I think like I do like that it's different. Like it makes him look pretty different. Like he's got a drastically different hairstyle from his Superman look. It looks, I will say, it looks a little weird in that photo in particular. I'm hoping and thinking it's not going to look as, you know, over the top as it does in that photo. But it does make sense to have a drastically different hairstyle. So, like we said earlier, just throwing glasses on Superman doesn't really make sense. So, it would be cool to, I am curious how they're going to tackle that, and I hope I'm totally okay with them adding stuff and making a little bit of a new take on that to make it more, make more sense, like how nobody knows he's Superman. That, it only makes sense if like nobody really meets him and there's no like HD, like up close images of him, because then it'll be so easy to be like, oh, well, he looks like Clark, but
it's something where it's not like, it's not a huge thing to change, but I think people still will have issues with it, because people will have issues over anything.
I mean, and I feel like there is a contingent of Superman fans that just want him to stay the same all the time in every version and don't want any changes. And I feel like that's not like not only is that unrealistic, it's just kind of boring to just do the same thing over and over again. I do like when there's some changes to make it more unique and have like a different take and perspective.
His whole sort of look so far from what I'm seeing is it's so different that people don't like it. But I think in the years to come, people will appreciate it. I think it's one of the things like with the Pattinson, no one really liked him having all tactical gear, and now it's like no one really likes the idea of him being all tactical and military, and with all this other stuff. So I think it's just one of those things where people will warm up to it eventually, but it's so different from what we've seen already that it's just crazy.
People
but I think
are kind of resisting the changes. But I think overall the response to the suit has been really good. Most people seem to like it, which is great.
A lot more people like it than they did when that first reveal, because when that first reveal came out, it was like a 75-25 split. With people that hated it versus people that saw. I was one of those where I did like it from the start. The thing that I wasn't sure about was the lines on the shoulders. I said that I think I don't know if I said it to you or someone else, but the gauntlet lines of the biceps and the body lines of the legs, I could get behind those, but the shoulder ones just looked so huge, and it didn't help that obviously it was battle damage. So like I said earlier, how the lines are blue, so it looks okay.
Yeah.
In that picture, they're so obviously darker than the rest of the suit.
Yes.
It just looked stupid. It didn't look right. It was one
great.
of the pictures. Whereas I actually saw a concept art for a bat suit that someone did, and they made it after the rebirth, but they kept all the lines, and it looked really good with the bat suit. And I'll send it to you later on, and you can put it. I don't know if you can overlay it, but it's a picture, and it's like Jensen Ackles putting the boots on.
Oh,
with the
that's cool.
It looks in the bat signals in the background behind the window. It looks awesome.
That's cool.
I would definitely be open to seeing a bat suit in this style, especially with the trunks and the lines. I think it'd look good. You just have to do it right.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
And it's an easy thing to go wrong with. You use the blue shade too dark, it doesn't look right. Too light, and it looks stupid.
Exactly. And I feel like the material matters a lot too. I think
it looks like rubber.
Yeah, I think
it's very rubbery.
Yeah, I think sometimes. Yeah, I feel like things looking too rubber and too like pajama like can make a suit look really lame. Like I feel like the later versions of like the Flash suit in the CW looks like pajamas a lot of the times. Like he looks like he just in a onesie, like ready for bed or something. So I don't like that material, but I do like the Superman suit so far. And kind of like the last batch of Superman set photos shows him being arrested, seemingly by the engineer and Rick Flag Sr., played by Frank Grillo, who's also going to play him in Peacemaker Season 2 and Creature Commandos. But then there's also this mysterious guy dressed all in black. He looks kind of like a mix of like Black Noir and I don't know who else, but like it's kind of interesting. But he's got like a big U on his chest, and a lot of people are saying he's Ultraman because of that. And obviously, he doesn't look anything like Ultraman in the comics. And there's been some speculation that it is going to be Ultraman, but it's going to be like more like a bizarro version of Ultraman where he's like a clone of Superman, and like, which I mean could be cool, but I don't love that suit. Like I think the suit looks cool, but it looks nothing like Ultraman. I kind of would prefer if they would just do Ultraman or Bizarro instead of a weird like hybrid. But I'm gonna reserve my judgment till the actual movie, and see what happens. And
there's been some theories and stuff about him. That's his first suit, and then something happens, then he destabilizes, and the suit breaks down, and it reveals the classic Bizarro suit underneath with Corenswet's face as the white, like down face, which I do love. I like that idea.
That would be cool.
If he stayed as in the black suit, the whole thing, I'd be like, Whereas if that happened, I think I'd like the black suit and the idea of it being like a government sort of cover up.
Yeah, for sure.
More. I could definitely see them doing that at some point as well in this film.
Yeah. I find it interesting that the engineer is there because obviously she's part of the Authority. She's going to be in the Authority movie. That makes me wonder if the Authority isn't working with the government or like an arm of the government, which would be an interesting take because we already know that the Authority and the Justice Society already exist in this universe, which I have to say I really like. I really like that James isn't just like starting from scratch and like, kind of like with, the MCU where it just started with Iron Man and there was some other, like they kind of retcon that there were other, heroes before, but I like that it's starting as a universe where there's already superheroes. Like it's not like starting from scratch. And I feel like we've had enough adaptations of DC stuff where we don't need to start from the very beginning. Like there's nobody else except Superman. I like that he's coming into a world where there's already heroes, and it seems like it's going to take some elements from some comics like the Authority, like Superman and the Authority and stuff like that, where he's going to be more like he's going to have more of a moral compass than the heroes of the day. Like it's not 100% the boys, but it's going to be kind of like that, where the heroes are like have kind of lost their way and are more like authoritarian, and kind of don't have like aren't really heroes as much anymore. It's just like law enforcement.
Yeah.
So I think that that's going to be a really interesting take, and I do like that it's also going to introduce heroes like Mr. Terrific and Hawkwoman and stuff.
Yeah, I like the idea that he's sort of the one that sets the standard for having a moral code.
Yeah.
Of like, we don't kill these people, we try and like rehabilitate them.
Yeah.
That's
I
very
mean,
Superman to me.
Exactly.
In a way. Yeah, I like. I think the theory going around at the minute with the whole engineer being with the government is that this Lex Bizarro, Ultraman, whatever you want to call it, thing is government made.
Yeah.
So the government have told Lex Luthor to make this thing, which is the Bizarro. We'll call it Bizarro because I like the idea of that.
Yeah.
So the government have told Lex to make Bizarro to stop Superman from saving these people that he's trying to rehabilitate, and that's why he gets arrested, because he's obviously another version of himself that's arresting himself. I know it gets quite convoluted, but it's one of those things where I think you just have to wait and see, really. And you can have theories that are going to be pretty close or stupidly far away, but I'm definitely open to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that.
Yeah. I think it would be really funny if either this character is kind of like inconsequential and doesn't really factor in at all, and like everyone's focusing on it, or what would be kind of interesting is if that's actually like a placeholder and they like replace him with CGI or something. Like he's kind of like a misdirect. That would be kind of funny too.
I feel like it can't be like that, because one of the people that worked on set said it was a spoiler and to avoid it. But then, if it was that big of a thing for the story, they could have hidden that surely with like big CG borders.
Right. So that's kind of why part of me feels like maybe there's more to it. Like maybe they're hiding, who it really is, and they'll like reshoot the scene showing who it is or something. But yeah, I guess we'll see. But I feel like, given how much attention this character is getting, I feel like it might be a misdirect, because I feel like if they really, really wanted to hide him, they could have. Yeah, I think there's very few times where things get leaked with set photos that totally, like, the studio was like, if this gets out, we're gonna be like so freaking mad. I feel like that only happens sometimes. I think usually when they want to hide something, they do. Like they did an amazing job with Deadpool 2 hiding the Juggernaut. Like they even filmed some stuff outside and had like like a practical, like kind of like half model, but they covered it like all the time when it wasn't in use, so like nobody knew the Juggernaut was in the movie until it came out. So like I feel like they can hide stuff when they want to, even when they're filming outside in practical sets.
Yeah, they know people are taking pictures of everything. If it was that big, they would have done something, or like rescheduled the shoot or done it somewhere else. Or something.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. So yeah, but those are the set photos. Oh yeah, there was one other thing I wanted to show you. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but there have been some set photos with Lex Luthor recently. Yeah, with him, like he looks like he's been messed up a little bit. He's got some injuries, which apparently it looks like they're using a bald cap or a bald wig.
Yeah, behind his ear, like there.
Is interesting because it looked like Nicholas Hoult shaved his head, but maybe he shaved his head just to make that easier, because it didn't look like he kept it completely shaved. It did grow back a little bit, I think. So I'm thinking
Yeah,
maybe they just are using the bald wig to make it look completely bald.
the thing about being that bold is it takes like hours for it to just grow back a little bit, and
Yeah.
people on top of that's just a pain, I'd imagine. So I think
Yeah.
he definitely is still bold underneath it,
Yeah.
but I think just for ease of shooting, especially if it's so far away, instead of just having him shave his head, they've just put the bald cap on and just said,
Yeah.
and especially for makeup as well, for cuts as well, because it's
Yeah, that's
to
true.
blend that into his actual head.
Yeah.
It's got to be a pain, and
Yeah.
but yeah, he's definitely been through some stuff, and I think under his like cloak thing, you can see like a shirt collar.
Yeah.
So he's definitely wearing some sort of suit. So
Yes.
yeah, I'm interested to see what he actually wears in the film.
I do have high hopes for this version of Lex Luthor. I feel like we've never really gotten a really good comic accurate, like, live action Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
I think the closest was probably Kevin Spacey in Superman
yeah,
Returns. But I feel like we really are in dire need of this a really good Lex Luthor in live action. I feel like every
yeah,
other version has been trying to, like, distinguish itself and change him in ways.
yeah,
And I would really just want to see, like, a classic Lex Luthor, and like, I don't mind a little bit of a twist here and there. He's obviously a bit younger than in most of the comics, but
yeah.
I am still hopeful that it's going to, he's going to embody the comic Lex Luthor for the most part.
Yeah, I think he's a very interesting character as well
Yeah.
to cover as well, because even though he's been done in like everything that Superman,
Mm-hmm.
Lex has always been there as like the first thing they've done. It's like the Joker, but
Yeah.
they've always done Lex,
Mm-hmm.
and he's so much more of an interesting character than just this rich guy that doesn't like Superman. There's
Yeah.
motivation behind it, and that's the one thing I did like. Is I it sounds stupid, but I did like the Snyder version of Lex.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed the way he played him as like this sort of, even though it wasn't Lex Luthor, I did sort
Mm-hmm.
of enjoy that interpretation of it.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it
he's
was.
just much of an interesting character to cover in that film.
Yeah, I feel
Uh,
like his motivation was the closest, honestly,
yeah,
to
yeah,
the comic book. Even though they made a lot of changes, made him younger, definitely, like, made him kind of, like, kind of nuts.
yeah,
Yeah, and in a way, he was kind of supposed to be a version of, like, the Lex Luthor's son in the comics, kind
yeah,
of, but that actually turned out to be like a cloned body and stuff. But anyway, so but
yeah,
yeah, I think even though, like, other versions have had more of the personality of Lex more, I feel like that version captured, like, why Lex hates Superman more so than any of the other. I mean, because, like, in the Gene Hackman one, it was like, I want real estate, and at least
yeah,
in the
yeah,
first one, so yeah, I did like that. I do hope that there's a similar motivation in this
yeah.
version, and I do have high hopes for it.
I've seen people on Twitter comparing, and it's again just Snyder fans being Snyder fans, but they're comparing Nicholas Holt's boldness to Jesse Eisenberg's boldness in that scene where he's in Arkham,
Uh-huh.
and it's just stupid. It's the most exhausting thing to argue with Snyder fans like that. It's
Yeah,
so
I know. It's like, yeah, it's not like you can't reason with people like that. They're just, like, looking for a reason to hate on something,
yeah,
which is why I'm, like, a little bit, like, scared of when this movie comes out, because I know that there's gonna be a lot of people that are just gonna, like, hate on it for no reason.
yeah.
You
Gonna review
know?
bomb it.
Yeah, it's gonna be annoying. Like, I know it's not gonna win everybody over, which is unfortunate. But I also feel like some people are going to use it as, like, attacking previous versions as well, and being, which I feel like, can't you just enjoy something for what it is? Like,
Yeah,
they always have to be comparing it, like, well, this was better than this. Oh, it's like, I mean, like, obviously you're gonna have opinions about which you like best, but you don't constantly need to be like, this sucks and this is good. But
yeah. It's like the whole thing that I've seen on Twitter is like it's respect the past,
yeah,
embrace the future,
yeah,
which is
exactly.
pretty much exactly what I would say to people. Is
Mm-hmm.
Henry Cavill was great,
Yeah,
Christopher Reeve was great, Brandon
yeah,
Routh was, I think, in my opinion, really underused.
yeah, for sure.
I think he was a great follow up for Christopher Reeve.
Yeah,
Christopher Reeve was obviously Superman.
yeah. I really liked what they did with him in Crisis on Infinite Earths, like this the CW thing.
Yeah.
I honestly would have been cool to see like a show of his version of Superman or something, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever get that. As much as I would love that, I don't think it will ever happen.
Yeah, probably not.
I love the idea. This is a random thing, but I love the idea of Christopher Reeve if he was still here playing that Kingdom Come Superman.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Would look so awesome. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be. Or like the super future version, like in I think like in Batman Beyond and like the Justice League cartoon, they had like an even like more in the future version of Superman, like something like that. Which I feel like at some point it would be super cool if they do like some sort of multiverse type like crossover thing with Superman, because you know they've done that with Spider-Man, but that's pretty much all they've done in live action so far. It would be cool to see. Yeah. You know, like not overdo it, but like there have been so many versions of, especially Superman and Batman. It would be cool to see more than one version like meet each other somehow. You know.
But yeah, I would love to see like a multiverse movie with Batman or Superman, but I think it works really well with Spider-Man because he is this like goofy kid that's you know so amazed by everything that he sees. Yeah. Whereas I think you could definitely do it. There's got to be some way to do it with you know multiverse with Batman to make it enjoyable.
It would need to be like in a Crisis on Infinite Earths type like huge crossover thing. I think.
Yeah, you couldn't just have them all come together and we are Batman. And,
for no reason. Yeah,
it'd have to be. Yeah, I think I try to think about it every now and again. I just can't, in my mind, I can't put together a world where it would work.
Right.
As much as I would love to see like Ben Affleck and Christian Bale, you know, talking to Michael Keaton about turning his head or something stupid like that. I'd love to see it, but me personally, I can't imagine a way where it would work or happen. And maybe like 5-10 years down the line when we've had you know Batman Brave and the Bold live action, and then we had Matt Reeves Batman 2, maybe I will see you know a door where it could maybe well if this villain comes into it and this goes wrong, then you know not that Christian Bale I don't think would ever go back to it unless
probably not.
Was involved. As much as that, I would love to see that. I don't see it happening, but I'd love to see like if Jensen Ackles does get the new Batman, which I hope he does. Talking to like Keaton and Pattinson, and the thing is, you'd never see. I don't think you will see Ben Affleck's Batman in this because of the thing. As much as I would again love to see that, but the whole firing, hiring, I don't think
unlikely.
Yeah. But it is a shame because it is such an awesome idea. You know, 5 different versions of the same character that, you know, generations of people love on the screen together. Exactly the same as No Way Home, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, that seemed like a crazy pipe dream having, you know, Tobey Maguire and Andrew come back, you know? So I would say anything's possible, but I'm not, like, expecting it, you know?
Yeah, like if you said like 10 years, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield will both be on screen with a different Spider-Man. You'd say, no, we won't.
Yeah, right. You'd be like,
it's sure, man. I could say Michael could never see Robert Pattinson's Batman.
Right.
And then in like 15 years, they're both like, you know, arguing in their heads or whatever. So it's possible, but it's unlikely, I think, is the best way to look at it.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of Batman and multiverse stuff, I've been seeing a lot of people saying David Corenswet's Superman and Robert Pattinson's Batman would be perfect in the same world, yada yada. So, what do you think about that?
I can see it.
Yeah,
I could definitely see it. It's one of those things where I could go either way. I would love to see Robert Pattinson have, you know, a Superman, and especially this version of Superman, because this is one thing that I've always said is that superhero films should be their own thing. Like, for example, Shazam works really well because it's a comedic film, and I think each superhero should have their own tone of their film. So, for example, this Superman, if this is a really bright, optimistic, happy Superman that has the duality, but it's still a very bright, you know, classic film.
Yeah,
it would work really well if the Batman was part of this universe, because that is such a gloomy, miserable, dark noir film.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what we need. That's why the MCU works so well, is because each film has its own theme in a way. So like Thor is a very sort of godly film, whereas Iron Man's very tech based.
Yeah.
Ant-Man's quite comedic along with Spider-Man. So I can definitely see. It would surprise me, but I'd also kind of be expecting it, especially with everyone saying it.
Yeah.
Because Jensen said he's trying to appease the fans as much as he can as well, while telling his own story.
Yeah.
But I have got in my mind at the minute that Jensen Ackles is going to be Batman, and I'd be really upset if I didn't get to see that live action.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd be happy with it being, retcon to be in a universe with Supes, but I also wouldn't mind it if he wasn't, because I do like that universe. That I don't know. I just love when superheroes have their own universe, like Spider-Man, like the Raimi film. That's a lot of people's favorite superhero films are those sort of movies. So like the Nolan trilogy, where it's just him.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
I do. It makes more sense for me that Pattinson is that sort of universe. But like I said, I wouldn't be opposed to him joining this roster of characters. The thing is, you have a character like Batman in like media next to a character like Superman. They're polar opposites, and that's their guys, complete opposites. Yet they look like they belong together. And I think that's the main thing, is that this Robert Pattinson looks good next to David Corenswet Superman.
Yeah.
But I would also like to see, like I said, Jensen Ackles in this style of suit with, blue and grey or black and grey with the trunks. And I'd be happy with either, really. But I do definitely see it, and I was always opposed to it. And I've always said since Pattinson came out, it should keep it its own thing. Don't put it in the DCU. Don't build a universe off it. And I've seen theories that there was going to be a black Superman, wasn't there? That they were going to do. I've seen theories
it's
that
still
is
technically in development, but
I've seen theories that that's going to be Earth 2.
Yeah.
Along with Pattinson, and that they're going to have that as Earth 2, and then we're going to get a crisis event where the DCU and the Matt Reeves universe cross over. I've seen that a lot, which is I like that, but I saw a concept actually of Matt Reeves as Superman, which I'll send it you. You can put it on screen if you can do that. But it's a very like the best way I can put it into words is it's a very like Russian looking suit. Like it's very sort of like blue sweats, a blue long suit.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Brown belt, and it looks great. Like it looks really good. I love that suit. It would, again, that's an example where the trunks don't work, and I wouldn't want to see trunks on that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm kind of two minds about it. I feel like in the past that idea I was very against that idea. Like I wanted, Robert Pattinson's Batman, Matt Reeves' Batman to stay in its own universe. I still kind of feel like that, but I also feel like it would. I feel like it would work because they're both, it would work with this version of Superman because they're both kind of younger. I feel like they could meld them together, and I feel like it would be less confusing than having two Batmen going on at the same time in kind of similar universes. Like I feel like the thing with Elseworlds is usually they are very different versions of the characters, like in a different era usually. That being said, I do feel like having the Elseworlds label is really interesting, and putting that on the Batman universe would be very cool, and I think it would be a way to distinguish it further and kind of keep it in its own universe. Also, I feel like the idea of the Brave and the Bold, obviously Damian's going to be in it, the Bat family's going to be in it. It wouldn't really make sense to put Pattinson in that position, considering we just saw him in his second year, unless they just skipped several years. So and I don't see how they can meld that into the Brave and the Bold, because then we wouldn't have the Batman 2. unless somehow that's like a third movie. So I feel like it wouldn't make sense logistically unless they totally scrapped either Brave and the Bold or the Batman 2, which I don't want either to be scrapped.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is
Yeah.
I don't see the Batman Part 2 as a continuation of that, because I think that first story was beautiful.
Yeah, for
I think
sure.
the element of it was amazing, and I can't wait to see the next part.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I'm really excited to see what James Gunn does with Batman.
Yeah.
In this next movie, which is same as what you said, really.
So we talked earlier about the Batman getting delayed. I feel like the reason that it's been kind of being kept under wraps, why? I kind of wonder if they aren't delaying it, trying to figure out the logistics of the Batman 2 and the Brave and the Bold, and seeing, trying to figure out how that's going to work and what Batman in the DCU is going to be like and how they're going to distinguish that from the, the Reeves universe, I guess. So I kind of feel, I mean, I'm sure they are still working on, the script and everything, but I do feel like that's probably a big reason why it got delayed, because I think the Brave and the Bold is coming out. Was supposed to come out around the same time too, so that doesn't really make sense. They're probably gonna like figure out the logistics of how, they're gonna have two Batmen going at the same time, and one's in the shared universe and one isn't,
Yeah.
I just really hope they don't scrap it, which I don't think they will. I think if James Gunn decided to do that, he would lose a lot of fan support. And he's already said he plans on not doing that and letting Reeves do his thing. Which is smart, because a lot of people loved that movie and it did well financially. So, and I think it would be a really cool way to introduce the Elseworlds concept so that they can do more stuff with it down the line.
Yeah, it's a smart move to keep it as its own thing, especially because that could be like the dividing line. The Batman is the dividing line between the DCU and Elseworlds. Whereas I feel like if you did random projects that like no one specifically asked for, but people will like enjoy, it's not going to have as much of a clear division between the two.
Yeah.
The thing is with that is it's so obviously not in the DCU from what we've seen already. Like a mass vigilante is such an outlandish idea in that universe, especially to the police force.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't make sense for it to be like that to them, but a flying guy in blue trunks, in a suit. So it's definitely, they've set their tone, and it would be one of the worst, I think, decisions for that universe to bring it into the DCU.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the same as you. I don't want that to get scrapped, but I would also be open to seeing it in this universe.
I feel like it could work either way, but the smartest idea is probably to keep them separate. And just like make their own Batman, for which, like you said, it would be really cool to see Jensen Ackles as Batman. Like part of me thinks they're not gonna go that route and gonna find like a lesser known actor or something. But at the same time, James Gunn does seem to want to please the fans, and David Corenswet was a fan cast for like 5 years, so I guess
he was probably at the top of the list as well for people.
100%. Yeah, like even before, like I think it was pretty soon after Justice League came out, people were already like recasting Superman as David Corenswet on online. So I mean, I can see it happening. I know, I heard that James Gunn wanted to have like a bit of a younger Batman, but at the same time that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense considering he has Damian, his son, his biological son. So I can see Ackles, because Ackles is like in his 40s.
He's like perfectly between older Batman and younger Batman. Like he's been Batman for a while, but not for super long.
I do feel like he is about the same age as when he's 46. He's about the same age as when Ben Affleck was cast.
Which he does look a lot younger than that though.
I personally don't see a problem with it, because he's supposed, like, I feel like it would make sense. He's in his mid to late 30s, and I think Jensen Ackles could pull that off. But I can understand with a franchise, they might want to go with a younger actor, because he's 4 years away from 50. In 10 years, he's going to be almost 60. So I do kind of like that. That's the main reason I don't see them casting him, is because like longevity wise, but he doesn't look that old. So at the same time, he's going to look a lot younger than he is, but I don't know.
That's another thing I was going to ask you is what do you think about the age difference between these characters? So, like,
Mm-hmm.
do you think Batman should be older than Superman, and do you think Joker should be? Because, like, in my eyes, Joker and Batman have like an 8-year age gap,
Yeah.
and then Superman and Batman are about 10 to 12, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always had Superman in my mind as like mid-20s, so like 24, 25, 26.
Mm-hmm.
Batman's always been late 30s, and then Joker's been like 40s, like 44, 45 sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, I've always pictured Superman like primes. Superman in his prime. I kind of like always pictured him as like early 30s, and then Batman like mid to late 30s, I guess. Like not, I wouldn't say more than a 5 to 6 year difference between Superman and Batman. I think. Like I wouldn't say like a whole because I think like the age gap and like with Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill's Superman and Batman was like more like 10 or 12 years, and that's like probably a big like it's not like I'm totally opposed to that, but it's a bigger gap than I would probably like picture from the comics. So
the thing is, I wouldn't go with. I think that's one thing that they struggle with is making all these characters the same age or similar age. Like they don't have to be, and I think that's another thing that sets them apart as characters and makes them more interesting. Because I would like to see different ages. Because I'm sort of tired of seeing all these characters the same age, like especially in the MCU too. Like all the characters look, other than Peter Parker, they're all very similar ages.
Yeah.
Like they're all sort of early 30s.
Besides maybe Tony, he seems a little older, but
I think it's definitely something they could also do to differentiate having an older Batman as opposed to the Pattinson.
Yeah.
Because if he has the Bat family, he's obviously going to be a bit older. So he's got to be like mid 30s maybe for this. And I think this Superman is around mid 20s, isn't he? I think.
Yeah, I think they're going mid to late 20s with this version of Superman. I do think that Hal Jordan's supposed to be a little older. It seems like they're going for a more veteran, like in his 40s, Hal Jordan. And I think Jon Stewart's going to be around Superman's age. So that'll be interesting to see like an older an older Hal Jordan. But like you said, I think like they don't always do a very good job in the comics distinguishing their ages. They all just kind of seem ageless. But except for ones that are supposed to be like obviously younger, like Nightwing or something, but or like the Titans characters. But I feel like doing that in the DCU, like actually distinguishing them by being in different age groups, would be a good way to differentiate them and not make them all like like, well, we just happen to have a batch of like superheroes that are all 28.
I think especially with because how this is a personal thing, but how I said I imagine Joker to be older than Batman by like a decent like sort of 6 to 8 years. I think this is probably our last chance to see Willem Dafoe as Joker. Which would make I think it would be so perfect to have David Corenswet as Superman alongside Jensen Ackles as Batman,
all the fan casts.
Willem Dafoe as Joker. It would be so awesome. Like this is to me the last chance that like
it would
we have, because we already have a Joker in the Pattinson universe, and we've got Joaquin Phoenix as Joker, which I think he's absolutely crushing it as well.
For sure.
It's good to see that, but I think this is our last chance to see probably the most perfect fan cast ever.
That is something like I feel like this is our last. I feel like we've had so many different versions of Joker, and none of them have been like perfect to me. None of them have been like the. I feel like the Arkham Joker is kind of like the perfect Joker to me from the comics. Like he's just like psychotic and, but he's got like the weird, like weirdly, spindly and like skinny looking, but he's, which I think Joaquin Phoenix's Joker looks perfect in that respect. Like he's like insanely skinny. But, just like have that like psychotic, but kind of funny Joker, Like I feel like we've gotten like shades of that in multiple different versions, but I don't think we've ever gotten one. Like I'd like to see one that's like as close as they can to being like the Arkham version in live action.
Yeah.
That would be really awesome to me, and I would like to see that in the DCU because that feels like the last chance to really do that with Joker. You know, because I feel like we've had so many Jokers. You know.
Yeah, and especially with the DCU, if the DCU is like, because as far as we're concerned right now, if it all goes to plan, the DCU is DC.
Yeah.
Film wise for the foreseeable future, the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
So I don't see there being another Batman spin-off live action unless they do like a Gotham show where it's it's a thing where you would have another Joker. So I feel like this is it's something that I really want to happen, and I get that he's older, so he's not going to have as long a run as Joker. But he was still like he did all his stunts for No Way Home, so it's not like he's too old to play characters like that, especially. And I think he's very similar to Green Goblin in a way. Like, like with his laugh and stuff, he could pull it off. So it's just whether they would actually go for it. And I really hope they do. That would be like that would make my life.
Yeah, I know that would be so cool.
But that'd be so awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I can't wait to see what happens with this universe.
Me too.
It's the worst part is just waiting.
Yeah, me too. I really like what, at least so far, what James Gunn is doing. Like, obviously, if it sucks, that would suck. Like, I'm really hoping it's good, which I think it is. I feel like it would have to be really bad for it to fail. I really like that James Gunn is bringing in actual comic writers like Tom King to co-write stuff. Like Tom King is co-writing the Lanterns series, which is cool. Oh, which I forgot to mention earlier, but the Lantern series was officially picked up by HBO. Apparently it was originally planned to be a Max original, but instead it's going to be an actual like HBO show. So it's like it'll be on Max, but it's also going to be on the HBO like channel, like House of the Dragon and like all that stuff. So it's gonna be in The Last of Us. So it'll be on the HBO channel and Max, as opposed to just being a Max original, I guess, to like reach a broader audience, I guess.
Yeah, it's 8 episodes, isn't it?
I think it's supposed to be 8. Yeah, and it looks like they're actively casting for it, which is great. I feel like that movie is what I'm most excited for outside of, or not that movie, that show is what I'm most excited for outside of the new Superman movie, at least of what's been announced so far.
Yeah, and it's pretty like soon, isn't it? If they're already casting, it's got to be soon, like 26 maybe. I think.
I don't. Yeah, 26. I think 26. Yeah, I don't see it coming out next year, but 26 probably.
I think probably about August to November 26. I think is like early-ish for it. So I'm intrigued. I think 8 episodes. Do you think that's enough for the story that they're going to tell?
Could be. It could be.
I think 12 could be better. I think.
I agree. I usually feel like 12 is kind of like this. 10 to 12 is usually the sweet spot for TVs. Like 6 to 8 episodes feels too short most of the time for me. But I guess we'll see how it pans out. I'm just very intrigued what they're gonna do with the suits, because I don't think like they're gonna do the totally CGI route like they did with the movie. But I feel like they should probably do a mix of like practical and CGI, because the Green Lantern suits are supposed to be completely like made out of energy, so you kind of have to have some CGI for that to like look right. But at the same time, they do kind of look like actual costumes as well. So I feel like a mix of CGI and like practical effects would go a long way.
Yeah, that's one thing I will say, is that each hero needs their suit to look unique. So like Superman's looks how it is. It needs to be different, especially with Lantern. Like if you had every suit with these lines and everything, it just looks like it's all come from the same place, which it hasn't. Which is another thing that I think superhero films suffer from a lot, is the suits all look like they've come from the same place, because they have like in life, but they need to look unique to each person. So like Batman's suit, that's what I like about the DCEU, as much as I'm not a fan of some of those suits, is how Batman's suit has obviously been through hell. Like it's been, it looks like it's been homemade. Years of experience. He's had how many? 20 years or something like that.
Yeah, it was supposed to be about 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's had that suit for, I'd say, at least 6 years, 6 to 8 years. He's had prototype suits and whatnot.
Right. Yeah.
Where Cavill's Superman suit looks like its own thing. That's one thing I do like about the idea of it being a Kryptonian suit, that he'd gone from the pods in the ship.
Right. Yeah.
They look. That's another thing with what I was saying earlier, is that the suits are completely different and polar opposites, but they still look good together.
Yeah, they feel part of the same universe, but they don't look like the same person made them all. Or something.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is DC's looking up. We're getting somewhere with it,
for sure,
with this universe.
I really hope they can strike a balance of, being appealing to the general audience while still being, true to the source material, and pleasing the fans and not feeling like a product, I guess. Like, I feel like with the MCU, they've really fallen into the trap of feeling kind of like just a product in a lot of ways, and like they're just kind of pumping out stuff, and they feel like they a lot of times try to cater too much to the general audience, so they'll change characters just to make them feel like, fit with what's popular. And I really hope DC doesn't do that. I hope they're popular because I love DC, but I don't want them to change the characters to fit that, And I'm really looking forward to just like a first official look, like a teaser, a trailer, even a poster. I think it's going to look awesome, and I really look forward to seeing that. And honestly, I look forward to seeing, the other characters. Like I look forward to seeing the Guy Gardner suit, the Hot Girl suit. Metamorpho is going to be really interesting to see how they do him in live action. So I'm just looking forward to all that. I'm glad that there's a lot of other DC characters in this movie, and like some that we've never seen in live action, at least not in the movies. So I'm looking forward to all that.
I feel like it's something where it's so easy to mess up, but it's so easy to do right as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just, I'm sure there's got to be a reason why he's gone for, and I'm sure it's to differentiate from every Superman.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like I said earlier, there's a reason for the suit being a little bit bigger, and the blue being very different, and the emblem being different. I did like the idea when people said the Kingdom Come but yellow, because I loved it on that Crisis.
Yeah,
it does look really good, and
it looks more alien. I feel like it looks more Kryptonian.
That's what I mean.
Any other version we've seen, so I do like that a lot.
Did you see I think I sent you the set photo of the newspaper behind the scenes.
Yep.
Where he's.
Yeah, I saw it.
I'm not too sure whether that's for after. So where he's saving the people from this Daily Bugle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that newspaper is covering that.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't really make sense because it's already been written, but it could also just be just a little thing. They've written a newspaper about the thing they're shooting.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So,
But that picture of him where he's like this. You can see the ice breath, which is another thing that I can't wait to see in live action, is the ice breath, right?
Yeah.
That would have been a way better suit reveal.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I to say before we actually got the suit reveal, that I can't wait for the day where I open Instagram and I see David Corenswet in a classic Superman suit doing this in front of live. And when I opened it, that's why I was like, and then I kind of looked at it, I was like, yeah, it's pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah, there was like a disconnect in my brain when I first saw the photo. I was like, this doesn't look right. Like, why is he sitting there? The suit looks kind of weird. Yeah, it was definitely a weird choice to go with. I guess it was just like a photo they had on set, and he just decided to touch it up. I don't know why he decided to do that, but these photos are way better.
Yeah, 100%. Even if they use these as the reveal, like even if we got like a version of the All-Star Superman, was it that he promoted the movie with when he talked about it first?
Yeah.
Where he's like sat on the roof, and he's looking back at it. That would have been awesome to see.
That would have been a cool reveal too. Yeah.
Or even just as a poster, like the movie, it would work. Yeah, I'd love to see something like that. And totally, I think it works, especially if he's going with this comic book universe.
Yeah, for sure.
To have a comic book style poster with this suit, it's gonna it'd look awesome. But I could definitely see him, remaking that original '78 poster where it says "You'll believe a man can fly," and it's the red streak.
Right.
There's so much you could do with this, and it'd be such a shame for it to go to waste as a universe as well. Because you could do a lot of things even with the Green Lanterns. Like, you could do so much with these characters.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like that's where Snyder kind of limited what he could do, because he set it very grounded, dark.
Yeah, true.
Whereas having Superman as bright and Batman dark, and Green Lantern's more sci-fi, you open up those doors to have them all different but together.
Yeah,
is the best way to look at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So to kind of wrap things up, closing thoughts for me, like the suit looks really good. These set photos are so much better than the reveal. I love the suit. They're like a little like nitpicks here and there, but I feel like I have faith that it's gonna look great in the movie on the big screen. Mr. Fantastic looks great. All of the Daily Planet people look really good. I'm just looking forward to seeing more from this movie and getting some official stuff. Like hopefully, by this fall, getting some sort of like little teaser or something. I don't know, but the suit looks awesome. Looking forward to this movie for sure, and just the DCU in general.
Yeah, closing thoughts for me is I love what I'm seeing so far, especially with posters and promises from Gunn. And I'm definitely looking forward to the future of the DC. The DCU's looking up, is what I'm trying to say.
100%.
We're moving on. Like a year ago, we were in casting, and now we're shooting, and we're getting other projects done. Like we're actually getting done.
100%.
Yeah, it's looking up. It's looking good.
100%.
I'm loving what I'm seeing. I love the tone and everything. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too. Well, thanks for being on the show again. Thanks for being on the pod again, man.
Pleasure.
Where can people find you at?
Probably if you want to check out I don't really post on YouTube, but do dabble in YouTube, I guess. I could say it's Twisted Gods. I'm sure it'll be linked somewhere.
Yeah, I'll put it in the description and everything. Yeah.
Other than that, I've started doing prop making and replicas, so I'll be doing eventually the Superman Legacy or Superman suit.
Right. Yeah.
So if you want to check that out, it will be on Instagram, TGSFX. We're actually starting to do the emblems right now, and then we're going to move on to the cape. So that's another thing that I did want to say, is that the suit's going to be so hard to do because it looks so rubber. It just looks like pure rubber.
Yeah.
So it's but other than that, that's really all I'd say to promote myself is my replicas page and maybe my YouTube if I dabble. But
I'll put like links in the description for all of your stuff, and be sure to check us out, Casual Experts on Instagram and X and Threads, just casual_experts. And if you're listening to this, check us out on YouTube, just Casual Experts. And if you're watching this and you want to listen to the audio version of this podcast, it's pretty much everywhere: Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, all that stuff, Amazon Music. So thank you everyone so much for listening. And we will see you next time.
See you later, guys.